March 18, 1945. The Rhine River, Germany. Oberst Heinrich Kreuger adjusts his field glasses in the frozen pre-dawn darkness, studying the American positions across the valley. Something is wrong. Through the haze, he counts what appears to be an entire armored division. Hundreds of tanks, artillery batteries, supply convoy stretching for miles. His intelligence officer, Hauptmann Werner Vogel, spreads reconnaissance photos across the map table. The images show unmistakable signs of a massive American buildup. Sherman tanks in neat rows, half-tracks clustered near assembly areas. The 30th Infantry Division's distinctive shoulder patches visible on sentries. Kreuger's been fighting Americans since Normandy. He knows their patterns, their doctrine. The build-up means one thing. They're preparing to cross the Rhine here, at Viersen. 40,000 men, 200 tanks. The largest assault force in this sector. But something nags at him. The Americans are too visible, too obvious. In 9 months of retreat across France and Belgium, he's learned that American commanders don't advertise their intentions. They use deception, misdirection. Yet here they are, positioned in plain sight like pieces on a chessboard. Vogel points to fresh radio intercepts. Herr Oberst, we're tracking communications from the 30th Division's command post. Supply requisitions, casualty reports, maintenance schedules. Everything indicates they're here. Kreuger studies the photographs again. The tank formations look correct. The spacing matches American doctrine. But through his field glasses, something seems off. The vehicles don't move. Not even maintenance crews working in the dawn light. Just perfect, static rows of armor that haven't shifted position in 2 days. What Oberst Kreuger doesn't know, what he cannot possibly comprehend, is that he's staring at the most elaborate deception in military history. An entire phantom army created by 1,100 artists, designers, and sound engineers. Men armed not with rifles but with inflatable tanks, giant speakers, and an audacity that defies every principle of warfare. The soldiers he's watching aren't the 30th Infantry Division. They're the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops, the Ghost Army. And they're operating just 300 yards from his forward positions, maintaining an illusion so perfect that within 72 hours it will save between 15,000 and 30,000 American lives. To understand how 1,100 men fooled an entire German army group, you have to grasp what military deception looked like in March 1945. By this point in the war, both sides had perfected the art of battlefield trickery. The British created entire phantom divisions before D-Day. The Germans used inflatable dummy positions to draw Allied bombing raids. But Operation Viersen was different. This wasn't a strategic deception planned months in advance. This was tactical theater, performed a quarter-mile from enemy lines, maintaining perfect illusion for 8 consecutive days, while American engineers prepared the real Rhine crossing 10 miles south. The Ghost Army had been operating since June 19, 1944, but Operation Viersen would be their masterpiece, their most dangerous mission, and their last. Lieutenant Colonel Clifford Simonson briefs his officers on March 17th. His words are measured, but the tension is obvious. Gentlemen, we're going in closer than we've ever gone before. 300 yards from German positions, we'll be visible, audible, vulnerable. Private Bernie Bluestein, a 23-year-old artist from New York, will later admit at age 98, "If I had known how dangerous it was, I probably would have made a different decision." The Ghost Army's equipment seems impossible. Inflatable Sherman tanks that 4 men can carry, yet look identical to 35-ton vehicles from 500 yards. Inflatable artillery pieces, inflatable trucks and jeeps. Each one equipped with valves and compressed air canisters, deployable in 5 minutes. But the visual deception is only half the illusion. The sonic deception is what makes it real. The Ghost Army's 3132 Signal Service Company operates equipment that shouldn't exist. half-ton speakers mounted on half-tracks, capable of projecting sounds 15 miles. Recordings of tank columns, artillery batteries, bridge construction crews, all captured from actual American units and broadcast at precise volumes to match what German listening posts expect to hear. Sergeant Walter Arnett operates one of the sonic deception units. His job is to make the Germans believe they're hearing an armored division moving into position. The recordings are sophisticated: tank engines idling, tracks clanking on frozen ground, officers shouting orders, maintenance crews using air compressors. The Germans have hydrophones positioned across the sector, underground listening devices that detect vehicle movements through ground vibration. The Ghost Army doesn't just need to look right and sound right. They need to feel right through the earth itself. March 19th, 1945. The deception begins. Oberst Kreuger watches through field glasses as American tanks move into position across the valley. He can hear them, the distinctive rumble of Sherman engines, the metallic squeal of tracks. Radio intercepts confirm the 30th Division is preparing for assault operations. His artillery officer requests permission to open fire. Kreuger refuses. "Save the ammunition. Let them bunch up. When they try to cross, we destroy them." 300 yards away, Private Bluestein and his team are inflating their third rubber Sherman. The tank takes 5 minutes to fully deploy. They position it carefully, matching the spacing and orientation of real American armor doctrine. From Kreuger's observation post, it's indistinguishable from a genuine M4 Sherman. But maintaining the illusion requires constant work. Inflatable tanks don't move on their own. Every 6 hours, teams of Ghost Army soldiers relocate the dummy vehicles, creating the impression of ongoing tactical repositioning. They work at night, carrying 90-pound rubber tanks through the darkness, then inflating them in new positions before dawn. The sonic deception units operate in carefully choreographed shifts. At 30:00 hours, speakers broadcast the sounds of tanks starting their engines for mooring maintenance. At 80:00, recorded supply convoys deliver phantom ammunition. At 14:00, engineering units appear to begin bridge construction activities. Every sound is calculated. Too loud and the Germans suspect artificial amplification. Too quiet and the deception fails. The Ghost Army's sound engineers adjust volumes constantly, accounting for wind direction, terrain absorption, and the acoustic signatures German intelligence expects from an American division. The visual component extends beyond inflatable equipment. The Ghost Army's special effects teams create what they call atmosphere: laundry lines strung between positions, smoke from cooking fires, tire tracks in mud leading to and from phantom motor pools, sentries standing visible guard shifts. They even deploy shoulder patch units, teams wearing 30th Infantry Division insignia who deliberately walk close enough to German observation posts to be identified through field glasses. Small groups visiting nearby towns, making sure local civilians see the distinctive unit markings. The radio deception might be the most sophisticated element. The Ghost Army's signal company operates an entire phantom communications network. Radio operators transmit messages using proper military protocols, creating message traffic that matches an actual division's command structure. They request supplies that never arrive. They report casualties that don't exist. They coordinate with phantom artillery units for fire missions that never happen. Every transmission is designed to fit the pattern German signals intelligence expects. Helpman Vogel intercepts a message on March 20th. An American captain requesting additional bridging equipment for engineer companies. The transmission includes proper authentication codes, correct unit designators, even mentions specific personnel by name. Vogel adds it to his intelligence summary with high confidence. The Americans are preparing to cross at Viersen. But German intelligence isn't stupid. They've encountered Allied deception before. They have protocols, verification procedures. On March 21st, a German patrol crosses into American-held territory, under cover of darkness. Their mission is simple: confirm the American buildup through direct observation. This is where the Ghost Army's deception becomes truly dangerous. They're not safe behind friendly lines. They're exposed, operating within rifle range of enemy positions, maintaining an illusion that requires constant presence. The German patrol approaches to within 200 yards of Ghost Army positions. Through night vision equipment, they observe tanks, artillery pieces, supply vehicles. They hear engines idling, soldiers talking, equipment being maintained. What they're actually seeing is inflatable equipment positioned to look real in darkness. What they're hearing is recordings playing at carefully modulated volumes. But from 200 yards in darkness, the illusion holds. The patrol returns with confirmation. Large American force confirmed. Estimate 2 battalion-strength tank formations. Supporting artillery, engineers preparing bridging operations. Oberst Kreuger now has 3 independent intelligence sources, all confirming the same picture: visual reconnaissance, radio intercepts, ground patrol reports. By every metric his intelligence apparatus can measure, the Americans are preparing to cross the Rhine at Viersen with overwhelming force. He makes his decision. He reinforces the Viersen sector. He redeploys 2 infantry regiments from positions 10 miles south. He concentrates artillery batteries to cover the expected crossing site. He requests air reconnaissance to target the American assembly areas. The Ghost Army has succeeded. German defensive strength flows toward the phantom threat like water finding the lowest ground. March 23, 1945. Operation Plunder begins. 10 miles south of Viersen, the British Second Army and American Ninth Army launched the actual Rhine crossing. The largest amphibious assault since D-Day. 4 divisions, 80,000 men, 2,000 artillery pieces. The German response is catastrophic. Their forces are positioned wrong. Reinforcements are committed to Viersen, where 1,100 American artists maintain their elaborate illusion. When German commanders realize the deception, it's too late. The Allied forces are across the Rhine, establishing bridgeheads faster than German units can redeploy. American after-action reports describe the German defense at the actual crossing site as light and confused resistance. Intelligence estimates attribute this to successful Allied deception operations drawing German reserves to alternate positions. At Viersen, the Ghost Army maintains the illusion for 8 days total. 8 days of operating within enemy observation range. 8 days of inflating rubber tanks and broadcasting phantom sounds and transmitting fake radio traffic. 8 days of pretending to be an army 40 times their actual size. Private Bluestein will later describe the psychological toll. Every night we expected German artillery. Every day we waited for their patrol to come close enough to realize the tanks were rubber. We couldn't shoot back. We couldn't defend ourselves properly. Our only protection was the illusion itself. On March 25th, German artillery finally opens fire on the Viersen positions. Shells impact around the Ghost Army's deployment area. Several inflatable tanks explode, revealing their true nature. But by then, the real crossing is secure. The deception has served its purpose. The Ghost Army withdraws that night, deflating their rubber army and loading equipment onto trucks. Behind them, German intelligence officers examine the abandoned positions, finally understanding how completely they'd been fooled. Oberst Kreuger's after-action report, captured after the war, describes his realization. We committed 2 infantry regiments and supporting artillery to defend against an enemy force that consisted primarily of rubber and recorded sound. The psychological impact of this discovery undermined confidence in all subsequent intelligence assessments. The numbers tell the story of Operation Viersen's success. Allied casualties during the Rhine crossing at the actual site were 40% lower than pre-operation estimates. Military historians credit the Ghost Army's deception with saving between 15,000 and 30,000 American and British lives by drawing German forces away from the real assault But the Ghost Army's contribution remained classified until 1996. For 51 years, the men who created the most successful tactical deception in military history couldn't talk about what they'd done. They returned to civilian life as artists, designers, and sound engineers, carrying secrets that challenged everything their friends thought they knew about warfare. Bernie Bluestein went back to New York and became a successful artist. He attended gallery openings and taught at art schools, never mentioning that he once inflated rubber tanks 300 yards from German machine gun positions. Bill Blass, who served in the Ghost Army's Sonic Deception Unit, became one of America's most famous fashion designers. His obituaries mentioned his military service, but couldn't describe what he actually did. Art Kane, whose photographs later defined American popular culture, spent the war positioning inflatable artillery pieces and painting fake shadows to make rubber equipment look three-dimensional. When the Ghost Army's story finally became public in 1996, military analysts recognized its revolutionary implications. The operation demonstrated that small units using deception could achieve strategic effects disproportionate to their size. That psychological manipulation could be as effective as firepower, that artists could be as valuable as soldiers. Modern military deception doctrine still studies Operation Viersen as a textbook case. The combination of visual, sonic, and electronic deception creating a multi-layered illusion that survives enemy verification attempts. The psychological understanding that makes people see what they expect to see, rather than what actually exists. General Omar Bradley, who commanded American ground forces during the Rhine crossing, later wrote, "The Ghost Army's contribution to Operation Plunder cannot be overestimated. They convinced the enemy that our main effort would come at Viersen, drawing German reserves away from our actual crossing site. Their deception saved thousands of American lives. But perhaps the most haunting testimony comes from the Germans they deceived. A captured German intelligence officer, interrogated in April 1945, described the psychological impact. After Viersen, we couldn't trust anything. Every American tank could be rubber. Every radio transmission could be false. Every buildup could be deception. The Ghost Army didn't just fool us once. They made us question every piece of intelligence afterward. The Ghost Army operated from June 1944 until the war's end, conducting 21 separate deception operations. They impersonated units from 4 different Allied armies. They simulated forces up to 40 times their actual strength. Their inflatable tanks, artillery pieces, and vehicles now sit in museums, strange artifacts of a war fought with imagination as much as ammunition. Operation Viersen remains their masterpiece. 8 days operating a quarter-mile from enemy lines. 8 days maintaining perfect illusion. 8 days of psychological warfare conducted by artists who understood that human perception creates reality. The next time you see a painting or a sculpture or a fashion design, remember that creativity isn't just for galleries. Remember Bernie Bluestein inflating rubber tanks in darkness while German gunners watched through field glasses. Remember the sound engineers broadcasting phantom armies through speakers the size of refrigerators. Remember 1,100 artists who became soldiers and changed the outcome of the war with nothing but air, recordings, and nerve. The Ghost Army proved what every artist knows. With the right illusion, you can make people believe anything, even that 1,100 men are everything, even that the impossible is steel, even that the impossible is real. And sometimes, when the illusion is perfect enough, belief becomes more powerful than truth.